It is December 2nd, 2020. We're here on the rooftop of the house located at 3287 Mohican Avenue in San Diego, California, 92117. So right here on the rooftop where we're located at, we have our original 3-inch cast iron vent. We do not have access to the house right now. We always perform our inspection starting from the rooftop for the most part anyway, but the real estate agents are on their way so we can gain entry. So the house is vacant. We don't know if some water's been run recently or not. We will eventually run some water down the line because we want to see if the line is completely dry, if there's any areas or pockets of standing water that are not draining out properly. But not being in the house yet, we assume there's 2 bathrooms, not just one, but we have this 3-inch vent which should be leading down to both bathrooms if they're back to back, which would be the case, otherwise there's just 1 bathroom. So we'll go down this vertical cast iron vent pipe. We always check the vents because sometimes there can be debris caught in there, heavy flaking of the vent pipe, or even broken vent pipes. So there's our toilet entry point right there, where the toilet dumps into the system. Here's the transition at the very beginning of the sewer line from this little bit of vertical into the horizontal. So we're now headed across this original cast iron sewer main for the house here. We have a little T-junction right here for the turn. Also, the back side of that will pick up the shower and the sink. So we're now continuing down this original cast iron sewer pipe. You can see so far that it's nice and clean. There's very little scale or buildup of deposits inside the line, so it looks really good. Little hump right there, some little mounding right here. Nothing too severe. Those are just cobwebs on the top. Those are not small roots or anything like that. Do get a lot of spiders living in the line, especially when it's been vacant for a little bit. Cast iron still looks in good condition. A little German cockroach water bug there. So you can see there's a little bit of scale and buildup on the bottom of the pipe there, but it's very minimal. Okay, so we do have a T-junction right here. You can see that there is a little cloth white rag of some type. So somebody has flushed down this from maybe some type of construction work or a cleaning company. And that is so thick and so heavy, that looks like a washcloth almost or something. It's not just a wipe or a towelette. None of those, of course, should still ever be flushed down. Even the wipes that say flushable do not dissolve or break apart and are never recommended to be put down the line. Now, we're about 37 feet out, so we're getting close to the front of the house. We're assuming it does go towards the street and out into the backyard through an easement. So this little T on the side could be another dump into part of the system or just a clean out access point. Or sometimes when they're making a turn on the line, the old builders just used a T-fitting to make the turn and plugged off the other end. Didn't make much sense, but they just did that. So continue down here. We will pull back eventually and locate at that 37-foot marker, so where that debris is at. Because if that rolls down the line with some water in the system and floats down, that could lead to a stoppage in the system. So the rest of this cast iron still looks really nice and open overall. A little piece of debris hanging from the top of the pipe right there, but I don't think that's any type of root intrusion or anything else. We do actually have some ABS pipe in here, transition, so there must be a clean out actually on the property. We didn't notice one walking the perimeter, but again, the line might be going on a different path than we originally walked and looked for it. So here we do have a vertical tie-in. We assume again it is a clean out. There's one T-junction right there at the opening at the top of the pipe, and as we pass across there's a second one right there. So these are definitely what we call double sweep clean outs. Now as we continue down the line, you can see right here we've got another little wipe or towelette that's been flushed down the line, and that's snagged at the transition. So it was a clean alignment from the ABS to the cast iron, but there's still just a little bit of buildup in the bottom of the pipe, and again, any little transition will hold those little towelettes and rags. So you can see on the bottom left of the screen there's some hard scale and buildup, and that wasn't dremeled or routed out with a little carbide bit, so it probably is what really caused that wipe to snag. But again, that material is very heavy, so they just should not be flushed down the sewer pipe here regardless. We may have another little wipe or just some little flaky debris right there on the left hand side. Continue down the line here. Got a little bit of debris in our camera lens from going by that debris, but here we have the true property line clean out. So this is where the horizontal pipe right here is going to make a vertical transition, and at the top of the pipe it opens up. Usually that was never brought to surface in the old days. On new home construction they have to do that. So right here this horizontal is going to make a turn to go vertical at this pipe. Now depending on the type of T-junction they use, which it looks like it's a hard T, we're not going to be able to make the turn from right here, but since we do have those ground cleanouts, we should be able to get past this point to inspect the rest of the system. So what we're going to go ahead and do is we're going to go ahead and pause the video, go locate the cleanouts that we passed in the ABS pipe here several feet back, and then we'll go ahead and continue from that point on with the inspection. Okay, so we've pulled back to this ABS double sweep clean out install that someone did, and it is in the front yard. The pipe, the bottom of the pipe that we're sitting in right here is only 20 inches deep, but when we poked and prodded around, the clean out lids are not there. So the front yard is all GG and then rocks. This area is under the DG, and we've marked it with a green flag denoting buried cleanouts at 20 inches deep. And so basically we don't have these to access. They were buried or cut off to be exposed above ground the way you'd want them. They do sell tan covered circular sewer cover box lids, like even for irrigation, that would blend with the DG to not be that noticeable, and those which should have been put in. So right now there's no access to these cleanouts. We used a small shovel and a prodding rod, and we dug down quite a few inches, even to the weed barrier, and passed a little bit and did not come to any of them. So we don't have any way to get into the cleanouts here, unfortunately. The front yard's going to have to be dug up. It could be 6 inches deep or 8 inches deep. Where those top caps are, we just don't know, but they were not brought to surface for some reason, or were covered up for some other reason when the landscaping was redone. So as we push back forward through this junction here, this is the cast iron we've already seen. So again, no real issue with the cast iron, but we're going to push forward to this T-junction that we couldn't get by. So this is the property line clean out right here. So now we're going to go and leave our camera right here, and we're going to go ahead and locate this on the property to make a marking of this as well, just for reference. Okay, so we've located this buried property line clean out where this horizontal pipe becomes vertical, and this camera can't make the transition down that turns right now. So the pipe is only about a foot in front of the sidewalk, distance-wise, out from the property. It's 21 inches deep, so it's just an inch deeper to the bottom of the pipe from the other clean outs. So what we're going to do now is we're going to go ahead and run some water, since we have access to inside the house. Sometimes the aided water can help move the camera through some of these really tough turns. Not a guarantee, but we're of course going to give it a try. So we're going to pause the video and get some water running through the system, which we also wanted to do to check for settling of the rest of the line anyway. Okay, so we have both bathrooms running water through both sinks, both showers, and we'd flush both toilets. So we're going to see if we can get this camera to try to make that turn with the running water. But again, because this is such a hard 90, I don't think we're going to be able to make this turn and continue, but we could get lucky. Okay, so yeah, so actually what you're looking at there is the vertical clean out. So actually that is the clean out. Our camera actually flipped upwards, didn't go downstream. So you can see it's kind of laid at a 45-degree angle, that T-junction. Off to the left bottom is the flow, upright is the clean out. So we just looked at that brass cap that's buried just a few inches below this pipe. So the way the pipe is laid out with the little hub of that T, it's not even allowing us to kind of continue with the direction of flow past that point. So try one more time here and see. See, we're just binding up in the wall here, not continuing down the line. So the cameras can only maneuver so much. So we have one more camera that we'll put in there to give it a try, but otherwise at this point we know everything's flowing and draining okay, but you do want to verify if the line is still all clay from the sidewalk out, that there's no roots intruding in the line or just no other debris or objects in the pipe. So as we pull back up through here, and again we have all this marked with flags on the front yard, we'll see if that rag has shifted or moved on the pipe, and then we'll shut the water off and we'll locate that. So just pulling back the camera and push rod here, we got a few more feet and we'll come up to the T-junction. There's the T-junction right there. Okay, there's that rag right there. So again, you can see even with all this water running, it hasn't moved the rag, so that's going to just have to be retrieved out. And because it's tucked inside that T-junction off to the left from here, I really need to gain access to those cleanouts in the front yard, because coming in reverse, as you come up to this T, the cable actually will want to go more where the rag is at, so you can try to hook it. Now some of it might still need to be done from the rooftop, but you're going to need to do both and verify with the camera that it's removed as well. So we'll go ahead and leave our camera right here, right at this T spot right here, and we're going to go ahead and pause the video and see if this is near the foundation wall of the house or where it's at on the property. Okay, so we wanted to show this. What you're looking at here is there's that little red rod you're looking at on the screen there with all this water running. That's the other push rod that we have attached to this camera. So we have another push rod and another camera, which is less stiff. It's a lot more flexible, but we have it attached to this one so that it gives it still the strength behind it to maneuver and push. So we've got about this 6 feet leader in front of this camera trying to maneuver by that point. We have all the water running at one time. You can see the second camera right here where we have it taped off to the other push rod. We're right at about the property line cleanout, which is about 5-6 feet back from this plastic is about 5-6 feet back from the property line cleanout, so that's where we're stuck at. So even with all this water running and a lot looser camera that's in front of this one, and this one aiding it to try to help push through, it still will not make that turn at the T-junction at the property line. And it's mostly because, again, we're so far out. Basically, the push rod starts to coil up or kind of act like little licoricey and inside the pipe at long distances, and we've already made multiple turns. So until you can get the ground cleanouts that you're literally looking at still right here with this camera, how it's attached, we're not going to be able to get past that point to ensure that the clay pipe has no roots or there's no other objects or no other problems with the cast iron or eventually the clay that should be there, unless it was relined, which we don't see evidence to that the city relined their pipe. So we've done everything we can at this point to try to maneuver and get through this T-junction at the property line, and it's just not going to happen. So we're now going to go ahead and pause the video and go try to get the cameras through the kitchen clean out as well as possibly the laundry vent. Okay, so now I have a very small camera. It's not self-leveling here in the garage. So you can see this black pipe is the vent pipe. I was replaced. So for some reason, and we noticed on the rooftop, there was no vent, original cast iron for the laundry. So the original laundry drain we assume was always here, but maybe it wasn't. So we do have ABS going into the wall. They do have a clean out here that was laid at a T-junction, and then you can see then there's another T and then a 90. So we're having to use a very small camera to hopefully maneuver through all these multiple turns in a row. So there's no guarantee with the way they set this up we're going to be able to get through that, but of course we're going to give it a try. Here's the other bottom 90, and we're already binding up. So we're going to run a little bit of water through the utility sink that's connected off of this as well, and see if that allows the camera to kind of get through this area. There we go. Okay, so we are getting out. We're going to let the water keep running. This looks like all newer pipe. So I guess there may be a crawl space for here, or it was dug up. I think there might be a crawl space here. I'm not really sure. But anyway, here we go. We are trying to get through this line, and we can see that it is all plastic, so it was all replaced. So that's the big thing that's good. We're coming up to a turn right here, and it's binding the camera up, and it's still making the push rod difficult to get through. I think we've got some debris on the front of our lens right there, so we've kind of lost our image. Either that, or we're in what's called a sag or a belly, which is, again, holds water and doesn't drain out. So we do have the water running right now. We have no visual right now. It kind of looks like there's just stagnant water there, so we'll see as we continue to push through here. As long as we can keep going. There we go. We finally have opened up. It does look like it's plastic. So the kitchen may be redone as well, because we saw that there's a newer plastic clean out on that side of the house. So, but as far as we've got to push on this one, we're just going to keep going, and then we'll try to use a different camera from the kitchen to see if they intersect into this one pipe that we're currently in, because this eventually needs to tie into the main sewer. It's either going to loop around the house, literally, if it was completely rerouted, or under the house and tie into the cast iron for the bathrooms. But as of right now, the way we're running here, we may be around the perimeter of the house, possibly. So I think maybe what we're looking at here is those cleanouts that were installed in the front yard might have been actually where this kitchen and laundry might have been actually just rerouted to. So we're going to go ahead and continue to try to push through this one here a little bit more, and until we can't get any further, then we'll go from the kitchen and see if they intersect at all. Okay, there's cast iron actually there already, so we may not be going around the perimeter of the house actually. There's our cast iron junction. Okay, we're going to stop the water so we can let this settle out and maybe get a little bit better view, because we can't make this very last turn. We're at a long distance. This is going to be possibly the last sweeping turn that dumps into the cast iron here. We're going to pause the video while this goes and the water settles down. Okay, so we do have a crawl space access point clear on the other side of the house. We saw vents around the perimeter, but wasn't sure how it was laid up. So we can see that the laundry line was completely replaced. This turn-in right here is the junction into the cast iron for the kitchen. So this runs from this side of the house clear across to the other side of the house. And what you're seeing right here is the 2-inch T-junction where this dumps into the kitchen line. They become one pipe, and it continues to be cast iron until it dumps into off the bathrooms. So we're going to pull back on this line right here. And so again, the water's off. Pipes are all supposed to have a 1/4 inch of slope for every foot it travels. Supposed to have proper downhill slope. Also, the pipe is supposed to be supported at a minimum of every 4 feet with plastic P-tape strapping to hold it in place so you don't get any sags or bellies. So what you're looking at right here in the video is all this standing water that is not draining out on the system because the pipe was improperly installed. Sometimes when you buy plastic pipe as well, it actually gets a bow and a flex just from being out in the sun and on a vehicle. And so before it's put in, you have to lay it down on a level ground and mark it where its flat part is, and then install it that way. And then again, it needs to be properly supported. If it's close enough to the ground, we do what's called shading. Otherwise, it has to be strapped a minimum of every 4 feet horizontally. So that pipe right there has improper slope. This is only for the kitchen, but again, that will, possibly lead to things backing up and building up in the pipe. So that would need to be corrected there. We're now going to pull across the rest of this 2-inch ABS newer plastic laundry line and see if there's any other areas that are holding water to the system. Again, this is all in the crawl space. A little bit of debris there, clean on the top right side of the wall of the pipe there. Might be little chunks of paint or debris that were washed out. So again, our camera's not self-leveling, so it's going to kind of shift and move here. As far as the image, you can see the water that's on the bottom of the pipe right now is on the top of the screen, but it's going to kind of keep moving around. So again, right there, a little bit of standing water, and our camera goes completely underwater right there. So you can see this is another pocket or another area in the line that's going to force it to need to be redone. So you can see right there all that water that's being held in there. So they are traveling a long distance, go from one side of the house to the other, and they've got it probably going in through the wall here as high as they can into the crawl space, but they need to correct this in a better way to get rid of those areas if you want it to be completely to code. Now coming back across those couple turns, and now we're back out again. So you can see right here, we're now back in the garage here. Wipe off our camera lens from all that heavy debris and gunk that was on there. So here we are. That was our clean out access point. So we do have a clean out access for the kitchen, but we can see from the crawl space entry point that it is only cast iron the whole run, so it's unlikely the camera is going to get through there, but we will give an attempt at that if the ABS clean out leads into that. So we're going to pause and move over to there. Okay, we're now here in the backyard. Here's the kitchen window. Here's this clean out that was added from off the high up the wall. You can see here's an original clean out, and then there's another original clean out there. They both just intersect in the crawl space. We can see the two pipes come together. So they're old original caps and clean outs. We're not going to probably even try to be able to unscrew those because they'd probably have to be cut off. We have this one right here, and as soon as we look inside, you can see a bunch of metal flakes on here. This is probably from the vent pipe that is starting to deteriorate and go bad a little bit. So all those little flakes right there. So to the left upper right there that we're looking is coming from up top, from the rooftop, and then here to the right is going down. So we'll go ahead and try to maneuver through this. You can see all those little flakes in the line. And so then this goes down and will lead into the cast iron 2-inch main for the kitchen. This drain pipe. So you can see it's open right now, and it's clogged up a little bit with debris. Here's that Y or that T junction where it makes the turn, and there's actually the other section of that T is just coming from another clean out. It doesn't come from any other drain. Going down this kitchen line, got a little bit of debris on our lens, and that's going to be typical. So we may not get all the way out here. Again, this is a long run. It has to go all the way to the bathrooms from here, but we'll keep pushing as far as we can go, and we may turn the water on here shortly if we need to try to help us get the rest of the way out if even possible. Got a little bit of buildup right there. We're going to pause for 1 second, turn some water on, see if the inside is so clogged up that we can't force the camera by this area. Okay, you can see the water's running through the kitchen. We're going to let it keep going right here. Sometimes it literally will start to get crystal clear as the water keeps running. We can actually get kind of a view of the piping in front of us before we start moving. Because again, in case there's an object or just super heavy buildup or fat or grease or sludge, then we can't continue down the line. We don't normally try to get through all kitchen pipes, but we thought we'd give it a try since there was this newer clean out here off the vents side, and we had the problem with the laundry. So yeah, there's just some heavy buildup right there you can see in the bottom of the pipe. This is super old original 2-inch cast iron pipe. So we're not going to be able to continue down the rest of the kitchen line, but it is draining out and it's functioning fine. It's just that with all that buildup over time, it's going to need to be snaked and or hydrojetted over the years, and eventually one day need to be replaced. So we're going to go ahead and let the water keep running. We're going to go check the crawl space while this is going and just verify if any of the kitchen line has any type of leakage from any of the cast iron pipes that are all exposed there. Okay, so we don't see anything leaking on the existing cast iron pipes, even though it's original, and the inside is obviously, which is going to be typical, pretty heavy with some buildup from all the years of use. Nothing's still leaking on there, and everything is draining out and flowing down the pipes properly at this point. So we're going to go ahead and pause the video. We did find another main sewer clean out at the beginning of the bathrooms on the side of the house. So we're going to give the cameras one more try from there to access past the property line clean out. Okay, before we pulled this camera out of the kitchen line with the water off, we just want to show one final picture. So again, you can see quite a bit down the pipe by quite a few feet, but we just can't push any further through this because of the constricted nature of it, but it's still completely functional, and you can see that everything was flowing through it cleanly. So we're now going to move over to the last sewer clean out. Okay, so we have two cameras taped together again. This time we're showing the camera on the screen that's in lead of the other one. So we've come up to the buried two-way clean outs that we've marked in the front yard. So we just wanted to show from this point on here, see if we're able to make this turn or not with this other combo from this ground level clean out, which we did not see previously next to the irrigation and the bark that's on the side of the house. So here's the T-junction right here. So here's where we need to see if we can get this camera using even a different one than when we did the other. There we go. We actually made part of the turn. So we're going to go ahead and pause for 1 second, get a bunch of water running, see if we can help this continue down the rest of the line. Okay, we've got tons of water running by. We're going to see if we can keep pushing while the water is running, and if we're able to continue down and all the way out from this pipe. Now, unfortunately, as far as this little camera is that we have, we were able to get out. We're in the clay pipe, but we're actually at the end of this cable. So this small camera that we utilize is only 65 feet. And so from where the distance we're at, we had to run such a long distance already. But we did get into the clay pipe, so we now at least have some type of visual. And we'll see. We can't get all the way out to the city, but we're going to go ahead now and shut the water off, and we'll pull back and see if there's any root intrusions in the portions we got into. Okay, so we shut off all the water, or coming back, it's going to slowly be a little bit more residual. Now again, this is a very small camera. It's the one that we were using for the kitchen and laundry. It's a lot more flexible, but it's only 65 feet long. It's as long as they make it, literally from the manufacturer. And but that one being taped to our other one was able to maneuver through, and then the stiffness of the other rod taped to it got it out the full 65 feet. So now we'll go ahead and pull back on this clay pipe. It is 4-inch clay pipe. You can see there's a hub right there. There's going to be a hub, a minimum of every 4 feet. Camera's kind of sticking right here at one of the turns. Let's see what we've got here. The view's not going to be great because, again, this is such a very small camera. It doesn't light up the pipe really well like the other HDR camera we've been using from the rest of the main sewer inspection. Okay, there we go. Got through that. Okay, there is a huge root intrusion there. So you can see there's some massive roots blocking almost all the pipe. So we're going to pause for 1 second. Okay, so here's our intrusion. Again, we couldn't get all the way out, so there could be more intrusions on the line, but we're now going to pull back. Here, that's actually the first. So you can see that's actually the cast iron pipe at that first 90. So there's still a lot more cast iron to be looked at across the sidewalk and street. All we were able to do is put this 65 camera just past up to the property line clean out. So that's that first sweep. So already coming back up the vertical cast iron, which is quite a few feet here. It's a very deep pipe, and then there's the transition for that T-junction. So there are roots in the system that need to be cleaned out. We found one heavy one blocking that 80% of the pipe there, but there could be multiple all the way out to the street that also need to be cleaned and verified once the other cleanouts in the front yard are dug up and exposed. So that concludes the recording for this property.